Hey guys, I just wanted to take a second to apologize. This video is not the suspension video that you've been waiting for, and I want to say it is coming. It's like almost done. We're editing now, but it has taken me a long time to get through all the geometry, and we're making a lot of parts for that frame, and I don't want to put out just a little bit of information. I want to try to put all that information in one video and let that come all out at once. So in an effort to not keep you waiting even longer for the next video, this video is going to cover some of the content in the installation of the Vintage Air system that I got. Actually, I was able to install this, I think it was towards the end of the winter, early spring. So I hope you enjoy this video. It's a pretty cool video. The new OBS Gen 5 Vintage Air system is really awesome, and I hope you guys learn some stuff about the Vintage Air system. If you guys have any questions about it, please email me or comment down here. I know a lot of you have already made comments about seeing my controller that you haven't seen that before. So all the OBS stuff is available from Vintage Air in a Gen 5 system. So here it is. Hope you enjoy it. Good morning and welcome back. Since the last episode, a couple nights over the week, Charlie and I, or my family and I, worked on the truck. We took a bunch more stuff off the truck that we're not going to use anymore. We ordered a lot of new parts, and some of those new parts have come in. So this weekend, I think that we can kind of dive in and finally install some new stuff. So without further ado, let's get right into it. All right, on the inside of the truck, I went ahead and pulled out all the wiring that was coming through the firewall for the ECU and some of the front end electronics. And since you guys seen last, I finished up mounting that I did at Profab column. Did I say Profab? Profab column. Now what I'm doing here with them is designing the upper mount and firewall mount so that this Profab race column will be a direct bolt-in for the OBS trucks. But what we're gonna do today is install an HVAC system under the dash. This truck did have a HVAC evap box mounted under the dash when I got it, but nothing was plumbed, nothing was wired or connected. So it's easier at this point to go with an aftermarket AC system. It's a more compact unit, it's lighter weight, it's easier to plumb, easier to wire, and what Vintage Air has now is controls that go in the factory dash location on my square dash. So let's kind of dive into the new Gen 5 unit and talk about its benefits or some of the new features that it possesses over the older generation. So if you guys notice, I am shaved now in this section of video. The reason for that is I attempted to take my family to church this morning. We got to the parking lot, Charlie got sick, puked in the backseat of the car. We had to come home and I just did an impromptu interior detailing session. So with that out of the way, let's get back to this. So what you see in front of you now is the Gen 5 unit. The Gen 5 unit is a byproduct of Vintage Air's relationship with Ford. Vintage Air has been working very closely in helping Ford develop an underdash AC unit for one of the newer Ford cars. With that relationship came unlocked potential in using some of the products that are only available to OE manufacturers. For instance, the SPOW blower motor. This is only available to manufacturers such as Ford, and now is available to Vintage Air as well. It moves 20% more CFM than any other blower motor on the market. This is great for you guys that have crew cabs, station wagons, suburban, stuff like that. The servos that are infinitely adjustable and control the doors inside of this are all Ford and all OE quality. And also the cases now are injection molded, which promotes better door sealing, better fit and finish of all the modules and pieces that go inside the case. And they also have now aluminum parallel flow heater cores. Also aluminum OE quality expansion valves and ports here for the AC hoses. We've also got bracketry and a gasket to allow the hoses to exit the cab through the factory spot, so you don't have to have bulkheads if you don't want to, or to buy bulkheads or more fittings. Also are these incredibly intricate brackets that mount the evap box under the dash in all OE holes. We're going to see that in just a second. And then one of my favorite pieces is this manifold adapter that they've given us. And what this does is it attaches directly to your ducting that's inside of your factory dash. Sure enough, my dash is missing all that stuff, so we're gonna have to grab that from a junkyard. But instead of having to pull all that stuff out and reroute ducting, you simply attach this to your ducting that's inside the dash and just have a couple connections with a flexible 2-inch hose. The other thing that they offer now is these controls that fit in the square dash. So whatever that is, I don't know them exactly. It's 88 to 94, is that right? Or 88 to 93. So these just screw in and then communicate directly with the ECU. Also is just tons of step-by-step instructions that are incredible. So we're just gonna jump right to it and get this EVAP box mounted inside the truck. One of the things that we're gonna jump right past is the installation of the manifold, actually not even a manifold, but it's where the hoses will actually go through the firewall, and I'll show you that really quick. These are the pieces that come with the EVAP kit that's specific for this cab, but the reason why we're not gonna use them in this case is that I have a turbo down pipe that's right in front of where those hoses would come out. So we're gonna end up doing something to close off these holes in the future, and what we're probably gonna end up doing is running our lines out the side of this cab. This is an area that's completely accessible on the inside, and we're just not gonna use that part. So, okay guys, one of the things that we have to do before mounting the evaporator core is to block off that fresh air duct that I was talking about. It does need to be sealed up with RTV. Before we go spreading RTV everywhere, we need to scribe our holes for the screws, drill the screw holes, and then finally pull it back off, RTV it, and final install it. So let's do that real quick. And don't worry about water being able to get in here. This factory fresh air duct has a big giant return around it, so water can't come down through here. So if you don't get it completely sealed up, all you're gonna get is a little bit of air leak, not water. Okay, that's mocked up. So I'm gonna real quick pull it back off, RTV it, and reinstall it. You guys don't have to hang out and watch that. Oh, could you imagine if I dropped this on the carpet? All right guys, before we get too far, I'm gonna clean this firewall a little bit. Where I took off all the old stuff, there's just a bunch of residue and dirt that I wanna get off. I'm gonna use a couple of my favorite products by Sweet Patina. This one's their all-purpose cleaner, and this one is their Century Polish. So I'm gonna use these to clean that firewall up. And then there's a few extra holes that are not being used now. So I'm gonna use a product of ours that we have on our website to fill those holes, and I think that you guys might enjoy that. It's a simple thing. It's a beauty washer with a nice stainless bolt, and we'll throw some of those on just to kind of fill these holes. So this is their all-purpose cleaner. I'm just using it to get the crap off the firewall before I try to polish off any marks. All their products smell good. I don't think there's any manufacturer that doesn't have great smelling stuff right off. I love it. And then I recently found a company that makes a billet adapter where you can run your aftermarket wiring harnesses for your ECU out of the other factory hole where the plastic connector was. So maybe in another installment of the series, I'll show you that connector or that bulkhead that they offer. So I've already got an applicator with that stuff on it that I used last weekend. Just gonna do it like I would wax, but just kind of crank on it a little bit. And with this polish, I'm just kind of acting like it's a polish, you know, so you put a little bit of elbow grease on it and it will polish, you know, some of the stuff off of the paint. All right, I'll let that flash off a little bit, and I'm just gonna come in here and buff it off. Just got a clean microfiber. And if this doesn't look as good, or if you still have a bunch of crap in your paint, just hit it with another round of that stuff. Here we go, guys. You can see I did a pretty good job. But down here, there's some streaking in the paint. where water has run down it over the years. I'm gonna try to polish that off, so let's try it one more time. And there it is after just one more pass of that Century polish by hand. That's totally good enough for what I'm going for right now, so let's move on to plugging these holes. What Level 7 offers is a beauty washer kit. We do offer these in a low profile design, which is what you see in front of you here, or we do offer the ARP style. ARP fasteners are a little more expensive, so these are better for the budget, and the diameter of this will fill those extra holes really nicely in the firewall. So let's go ahead and throw a few of those in. I'm gonna have to have Sean help me when she comes back out. I expect this should go pretty easy. I installed those temporary studs into this bracket, so we literally just stab it through the holes in the firewall. And then I've still got my big rubber mat on the firewall because I want to keep out as much engine sound as possible. So looks like it goes right up against it. There we go. What I'm struggling with a little bit here is just making sure I get those feet underneath this big heavy rubber mat. And I've got it. Sweet. So this is temporarily where it needs to be. Just making sure that that big rubber mat's not holding this thing out, and it's definitely not, which is very cool. So I'm going to grab my ratchet, snug that bolt up, and then pull the temporary studs out and replace them with the actual bolts that go through the firewall. But so far so good. All right, all of those are secure. And so now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and do the upper bracket that goes in here. And that actually pokes through, it goes up in here, I believe. Yeah, cool. All right, well, move right on. All right, so I've got the inner bracket here, and there's a few steps that I need to do before mounting this bracket. One of them is removing the ECU and getting it out of the way, because the ECU will actually attach to the front of this to make way for the bracket. The other one will be trying to find a spot where I can cut the insulation and slide this bracket through. Right now we're going to go ahead and get the ECU out of the way, and then we'll mock this up and figure out where we need to cut the insulation. If you guys haven't gotten a ratcheting right angle screwdriver, I would highly suggest it. I use this sucker all the time. So I've got a sharp razor blade, and what I'm actually going to do is remove this section, and then I can actually glue it back in place if I like. But I'll be honest with you, this little section over here on the wiper cowl is not going to do anything for me that that's important. So I'm just going to actually remove this section. I'm going to set this wiring channel up out of the way for now. I'm going to lay out a little bit of tape. The tape's literally just so I don't have to have a hard time finding the holes that I mark. You know, I'm just going to literally use an ink pen. And then when I drill the holes, the little shards of metal don't spin around and scratch up the paint on my firewall. You guys have seen these a million times, I'm sure, on other Instagram pages or other people's stories, but these are Clecos, or temporary rivets, and they are handy dandy. I'm just gonna pop this in and make sure that I like where this is at. Definitely definitely have to come back in here and vacuum. But the biggest thing that we want to look at is that everything is high enough and it's at the right angle so water will drain out of this and not pool and leak from some other area. And honestly, it looks pretty awesome. Real quick, I'm going to use my rivet nut cert tool. This is one that I bought through Cornwell, but I think it's an Astro tool. You guys can find these on Amazon. Actually, if you look in the description below, you're gonna see a link to these on Amazon. If you guys don't have one of these at home and you're doing much work at all, buy one. You can put threaded inserts in anything. It makes removing and reinstalling things much easier because you're not using sheet metal screws. Another cool thing that I like to use are these drill bits that are steppers. If you guys can see this, it's got a step bit on the end of it, and then it opens up to the true diameter that you want to drill. These are nice, especially when you drill an 1/8 inch pilot hole. You can just go right after it with the hole you want. So that's what we're gonna do in this case. And you don't have to buy these for every single size. I only buy these in the 5 specific sizes that I use most frequently. This one being the very specific 1022 riv nut hole. You literally hear it hitting the steps. Put the thread cert onto the end of the tool. I mean, you just literally shove and squeeze. And now I just grabbed 2 1024 stainless socket head fasteners, and I'll bolt this sucker together. Okay, now we've got an evac box that's installed. One cool feature that I have noticed about the bracketry that they've included is that they do give you real estate for the OEM ECU if you'd like. I'm gonna clip these zip ties and reattach this ECU up here. I don't think I'm gonna use this real estate, but it is nice if you guys wanted to mount the ECU or PDM or something up there. All right, guys, I just want to thank you so much for hanging out with me while I work on my truck. We did manage to get the Vintage Air HVAC box installed into the dash, and as any typical dude working on the weekend, I didn't get the time that I thought that I was gonna have. I had church, I had puking, I had wife stuff, I had all this stuff, so sometimes it's just kind of hard to get 2 or 3 hours on a Sunday. So anyways, I just want you to know, don't get beat down by that. Just enjoy your project, enjoy the little minute of time that you have by yourself working on your truck, and I appreciate y'all hanging out with me while I did that today on this Sunday. So hope y'all got something out of this. If not, hit me with a comment, let me know what you'd like to see more of, and if you're enjoying this content, just let me know. It's been fun for me to kind of hang out in this environment, treating it as a personal garage space and just enjoying this truck project at my own pace. I smoked a little bit of a cigar, had a beer earlier, took a couple phone calls, and just really enjoyed my afternoon. So anyways, thank you so much for hanging out with me.